understand that there's a lot that's been going on, and to take out a night for an evening like this is very difficult for most people. I'm just going to say a couple of words. My name is Ya'le. I'm the founder and director of Kol Shemot, along with my wife Michali. Tonight is an evening. We hope that, especially with today's uncertainties and with many different things going on in our lives, we hope tonight we find a little inspiration in the times of these uncertainties. Today we read a very interesting parsha. There's a lot going on. But something very important that I felt was very apropos, especially for the women today, to hear and to understand. There was a moment in time where Avram had to send away Hagar and Ishmael away from Yitzchak. And it was very difficult for Avram to do, but he ended up doing that. But at one moment, when it seemed for Hagar that all the food and all the water ran out, and she took her son and she put him down by the bushes, put him on the side, because she could no longer stand to watch to see her son die. She picked herself up and moved away. And a malach came to Hagar. First, we hear the pasuk that says, "Vayishma Elokim es kol hanar." And HaKadosh Baruch Hu heard the cry of the child. And then a malach calls out to Hagar and says, "Vayomer malach Hagar, what is going on here, Hagar? How can you not be next to your child? How can you not sit next to your child while he is crying out in sorrow?" And again, a couple of psukim later, it says, the malach says to Hagar, says, "Ki shoma Elokim es kol hanar b'asher hu sham." And again, he says to Hagar, HaKadosh Baruch Hu heard the cry of the nar, didn't hear your cry. He was very specific in understanding the difference between a Yiddish mama and a non-Yiddish mama. A Yiddish mama would never, ever leave their child. A Jewish mother will never sit along on the sidelines and say, I can't stand to watch their tsar and their pain. I'm going to go stand somewhere else. The point of the malach, what he's telling to Hagar, the idea is a true Jewish mother will sit there and be there with the tsar of their child and understand the call of the nar. And her cries are the cries that are necessary to reach Shema. That a Jewish mother's cries, a Jewish mother's tsar, a Jewish mother's anguish could reach the Elyon of Shemayim like no other cry. We are in a zman of real tsar. Many of us are watching many of us have children, many of us know somebody whose child is on the front lines today and is fighting for our lives, fighting for our being here in Eretz Yisrael. And it's our cries, and not my cries, but your cries that are reaching Shemayim. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu understands that the cries of a Jewish mother who are sitting here and crying out, and as much as it's sorrow for us as watching what's going on and around us, not just with the chayalim and the shvuim, but some of our children who are just sitting on the sidelines and crying out themselves. But a mother's pain reaches Shemayim, but we don't know when. There's a problem, sometimes we feel like we daven, but we don't know when. Why isn't HaKadosh Baruch Hu answering? The answer is right in the beginning of the Parsha, Vayero. Sometimes it's pitom. We don't know when it's going to happen. But the tefillas are so important that at some point, it's going to happen. The Gula is going to happen. The Yeshua is going to happen. The tefillas reach Shemayim all the time. And tonight, you're here together. You're going to say tefillah. You're going to have, the Berachas Amen. These tefillahs, every single one, we don't know if the answer is going to be today or tomorrow. But we do know that the tefillahs are reaching Shemayim Elohim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is listening to you. He is there for you. Kol Shamot, what we try to do is we try to help the mothers, the fathers too, to understand that we have to be there. We have to be there for each other. We have to be there for our friends, for our family, and especially for our children. I don't want to take too much of your time. I'd like to introduce Rebbetzin Teitelbaum, who has been part of the community for so many years, who has been there for her community for over 30 years, I believe it was. 36 years. And has now come here home to Eretz Yisrael and to be here for us. So I'd like to thank Rebbetzin Teitelbaum for joining us.
Can you hear me without the mic? Like this? Yes? Everyone can hear me? Yeah. So there's a story that took place in the early 19th century in Eastern Europe. There was a maggid who used to go from town to town, and he would give lectures. And he didn't have a car, obviously, in those days, so he hired a wagon driver. So the wagon driver said, okay. So he picked him up, and he said to the maggid, Shalom Aleichem, this is my horse Rivka, let's get in and let's go. So they start going, they're going, and all of a sudden they come to a hill, and the wagon driver says to the maggid, we got to get out. Rivka doesn't do hills, we have to push. So they push, they get back in, and they keep going, and they come to like a muddy spot. And the wagon driver says, we got to get out. Rivka doesn't do mud. And they get out, and they go through the mud, and they push. And they finally come to like a little bank of water, and he says, we have to get out again. Rivka doesn't do water. And they finally get to the town, and the maggid says to the wagon driver, look, I understand why I had to come. I'm the maggid. I understand why you had to come. You had to bring me here. But what do we need Rivka for? I a little bit feel like Rivka the horse tonight. Baruch Hashem, you have Michali Caplan, who's going to be your guest speaker. You have therapeutic writing going on. We have all kinds of music and brachos and everything. I'm not sure why you need me, but here we go. The truth is that over the last 3 weeks, I think we've all heard more shiurim and lectures than we have in the last 3 years. And everyone is saying very good stuff. I'm not sure what I can add, but I'm going to give you just my feelings at the moment. I have a nephew who's now very successful, Rebbe, and whatever, married with many children, Baruch Hashem. But when he was 3 years old, he was that kid, very, very smart, who always said, but why? Okay, everything. And I remember one time my sister, he says to her, why is there a sun in the sky? And she said, well, so God created a sun in the sky. But why? To show daylight, that it's the daytime. But why do we need daylight? And goes on and on and on. And after 5 minutes, she's so exasperated, she says, I don't know. You don't have to always know why. And she used to go through this over and over again. And I think that that's where we're at. We have a lot of but why questions right now. And the answer is, we don't always have to know. The very famous commentary that goes around saying that instead of saying lama, which means why, you should say lima. For what? For what purpose? And each of us has to say to ourselves, what can I bring to the table here? What can I add? And what can I do? And what value do I have that I can add to this situation? So obviously we go straight to the source whenever we don't know, and that's the Chamisha Torah. And I want to talk to you about what we can learn from the most famous character main character in Sefer Bereshis, and that is Avram Avinu. And there's a whole lecture on this, but I'm only going to do one short part of it. If Avram Avinu is the main character in Sefer Bereshis, Hashem chooses him to be the Av Hamon Goyim, our first forefather. One would think the Torah would tell us all about him, right? Like a lot about him. And we see that we've had very, very little told to us about Avram Avinu. Most of the kids start learning Parshas Lech Lecha when they learn Chumash. And it starts out right, Hashem comes from the sky and he says, Avram, Lech Lecha me'aretzecha, go out, leave everything you know, and I'm going to give you this great prize, a great name. Kids can think, does God usually just pop down from the clouds and tell people things? Like, who is this man? So the truth is that the last 6 psukim in Parshas Noah, we are introduced to Avraham. I'll just go through it very quickly. And it says, Eila told us Terach holidas Avram es Nachor ve'es Haran. Haran holidas Lot. So we have a man named Terach. Okay, we're told that he has 3 sons, Acham, Nachor, and Haran. Haran has a son named Lot. Then we're told that Haran dies. Vayamas Haran al pnei Terach aviv, be'eretz moladato or President. Haran dies. Okay? Do we know how Haran dies? We're going to talk about it in a minute. Vayikach Avram v'Nachor lahem Hashem. Avram and Nachor decide to marry. Who did they marry? Shem Eshes Abraham Sarai, Shem Eshes Nachor Milcah, Bas Haran. Avi Milcah, Avi Yisrael. So Avram and Nachor decide to marry their dead brother Haran's daughters in order to bring about a legacy for their dead brother, to do something for their dead brother. And it says Vayikach and not Vayikhu, as we've discussed, because it's singular, because Vayikach Abraham, it was Avram's idea, and Nachor was the follower. So this is how we're introduced to Avram. And then it just continues and it says, Vatahi Sarai Akara Ein Lav La. Okay, so we're introduced to Sarai, who Avram marries, who we're told is the daughter of Haran, who the first thing we're told about her is that she's barren and can't have children. It's like, hi, my name is Sarai, I'm barren. Like what? Why is the Torah telling us this? So the Torah is explaining exactly what happened here. Hashem meets Avram. We know that it doesn't say in the Torah anything about the story of Kivshan Ha'esh, which would be a great thing that happened to Avram. That what happens, he and his brother Haran are in their father Terach's idol shop. Avram smashes all the idols. Terach comes in and says, what did you do? And he says, I didn't do it, the big idol over there did. Okay, clearly Terach understands that it was Avram because he knows the big idol couldn't do it. So they go to Nimrod. He throws Avram into Kivshan Ha'esh. He says, either you guys into idols or I throw you in. He goes in, he comes out, nothing happens, a miracle happens. Haran says, well, I'm going to do whatever happens. If Avram comes out, then I'm going to say I'm with Avram. If Avram dies, I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to worship those idols. So when Avram came out okay, Haran went in, but obviously he didn't believe the same way as Avram, and he died. This is only Rashi brings in a medrash. There's no pasuk in the Torah that tells us about the greatness of Avraham, that 5 psukim later, Hashem tells him, Lech lecha me'aretzecha, and I'm going to make you into this great nation. What gives here? So we're explained that what Hashem saw in Avraham was this selflessness, to give up moving forward in his life, to marry his dead brother's daughter so that he could perpetuate a legacy for his brother. That selflessness was wonderful. And then what happens? Hi, I'm Sarai and I'm Akara. So he tried. He had a good idea. But at the end, it wasn't working because Sarah couldn't have children. What would a normal person decide to do? Sarah, it was nice knowing you, but now it's time for me to perpetuate my own legacy, to build for myself a name. But yet Avram would never do that. The selflessness and the kindness in Avram Avinu is exactly what Hashem saw. And exactly what Hashem said, that's what I want. that's the man I want to lead my nation. That's what I see, and that is what's the word I'm looking for. That's what we have to follow. That's our mantra of selflessness and giving of ourselves for someone else. I saw a video recently about Rav Lau. He was speaking to a group of bar mitzvah age boys. He told them the story of his bar mitzvah. We all know Rav Lau was the youngest survivor of the camps. He came out, he had no one, he had an older brother and an uncle who took him in and who brought him up. Came time for his bar mitzvah, Rav Lau prepared his parsha, came to shul, and it was known over the town that this is the Nebuch boy who has no parents, who everyone died in the Holocaust, he has no family, and everyone came to shul that Shabbos to give kavod to this bar mitzvah boy that he should have a beautiful bar mitzvah. That shul had a man who lamed every Shabbos. That was his, his thing. And he was so excited because there were never so many people in shul. And he saw so many people come, and he was so happy he could lame the parsha. And the gabbai comes up to him as he gets up to the bima and says, no, Moshe, you're not laming this week, we have a bar mitzvah boy. He says, but you didn't tell me, and I prepared the whole parsha, and I never get any thanks. And no one ever cares that I do it. And look at all the people here. You're going to take that away from me? And he's getting very upset. And Rav Lau, 13-year-old boy, is standing watching this. And the gabbai says, you don't understand. This is a very special bar mitzvah boy. You need to leave the bima and let this bar mitzvah boy. And he says, but look at all the people here. And he's not crying. And Rav Lau says to the gabbai, 1 minute. And he says to the man, I'm not really sure I know the parsha so well. You lane it. I'll feel much better. I'll feel more confident. You lane it. I'm sure sometime in my life I'll be able to give a public speech somewhere. And he stepped away. And Rav Lau says, that was my first mitzvah. My first mitzvah was giving of myself to someone else. That's selflessness. So I think that this is something that we can all take upon ourselves, is to go that extra mile right now of that selflessness of giving to someone else. A second thing we learned from Abraham is that he has many conversations with God. Okay? He's not afraid to say to God, but why, at certain times. For example, Hashem says to him, not only va'avarechacha, but I'm going to give you the land of Eretz Yisrael. It's going to be for your children. And he says, B'me'eda, how do I know? Challenges God, how do I know that you're actually going to do that? And then Hashem answers him, and they go on. Then comes the whole story of Sodom that we have in this week's parsha. And he says, Ha'af tisbet tzaddik and rasha? I don't understand, God. You're going to destroy a tzaddik with a rasha? You're the ultimate justice man, and you're not going to do justice? And he takes Hashem to task. He's not afraid to say, this is what has to be. He has conversations with God. Then Hashem says to him later on in our parsha, he says, Akedas Yitzchak. So one would think that Avram would say to him, well, wait a minute, okay? I mean, God, this is the child I've waited for, and what a contradiction for you to ask me to sacrifice him to you. One would think that's what God would say to him, that he would say to God, but no. He gets up, Vayashkem Avram Baboker, Vayacham Hashem. He doesn't ask the big why question here, where there's such a contradiction that goes against everything in our nature that God is asking of us. That, especially at that time, is when Abraham is silent. The same thing after Sodom, when he says, begs, how about 50, and then 40, but we'll go down to 10. And then he leaves God, and the next morning he gets up, it says, Vayashkem also. He gets up and he sees the city is destroyed, his mouth is closed. That's when you have that big question of, but why? It's not making any sense, but why? Avram teaches us that's exactly when you don't question. That's when you just raise your level of emunah to a higher place. So these are two things that I believe that we can learn from Abraham: the selflessness and the raising our level when we don't understand. And the Haftorah this week is one of my favorite, because I've used this many times in speaking to Bat Mitzvah girls. This is a message that I've often given over, and I'd like to give it over here as well. So humor me and go with the beginning of the Parsha, the Haftorah. It's in Melachim Bey's Perek Dalet, and it's talking about Eishes Ovadia. Just to give you a little background, Ovadia, during the time of Achav, he did not allow Torah learning, gave a hard time. Ovadia and his wife had 2 caves. They had 50 Bnei Nevi'im in each, who they supported. Ovadia had a lot of money and then spent all of it on supporting these 100 Bnei Nevi'im. And he ended up going to Achav, who lent him money to continue to do this. Ovadia dies, and Achav is coming for his 2 sons in lieu of money to take them as avadim. V'isha achas mishnei b'nei hanevi'im tza'aka el Elisha leimor. Okay, we're not told yet her name. We never know her name, but she's Eishes Ovadia. And Elisha was the Navi at the time who took over after Eliyahu HaNavi. And she says, Avdecha ishi nes. Your servant, my husband, died. V'ata yadata ki avdecha haya yirei Hashem. You know that my husband was a yirei bal yiras Hashem. V'hanoshe balakachad et shnei yeladai lo la'avadim. And my husband owed money, and he's coming now to take my children instead as servants. Vayomer eleha Elisha. So Elisha says to her, Ma'eselach, tell me what I could do for you. Hagidi li ma yesh lach babayis. What do you have in your house? Vatomer ein l'shevchascha kol babayis ki im asot shemen. I have nothing in my house but one little container of oil. Reminds us of Hanukkah, which will be here before we know it, and it's Hashem in Shana Tova. Vayomer l'chisha alilach kelim mincha chutz me'es kol sheinach. He said, go borrow from all your neighbors kelim rikim, empty vessels. They borrowed even in those days. And then he says 2 very important words. He says, al tam'iti, don't be stingy. Borrow as many as you can. Ubas v'sagart hadelet ba'adech u'ba'ad banech. You'll come back, you'll close the door with you and your sons inside. Vayatzata al kol kelim. You're going to take your little asot shemen and you're going to pour it into all these empty vessels. V'hamalei tasi'i, and they'll all fill up with oil. Meaning you'll be able to sell the oil, and then you can pay back the money, and your sons will be free. Vatelech ma'ito v'tiskar hadelet ba'ada u'ba'ad baneha. So she did exactly what he said. Hey magishim eleya, they would bring her the empty keli, v'hi motzeket, and she would pour. Vayehi kilot hakelim, and as the vessels were getting filled and filled, vatomer el bena, she said to her sons, Hagishi la'od keli, quick, bring me another one. Vayomer eleha ein od keli, and they said, oops, no more. Vayamod hashemen, and the oil stopped, and the miracle was over. What happened? She underestimated the power of each keli that she could have borrowed. She went around 3 blocks, she should have gone around 5 blocks. Al tam'iti, never underestimate. Each of us is a keli, and we should never ever underestimate our ability to accomplish, our ability to be that selflessness, to go the extra mile, our ability to raise our level of emunah to something we thought we never had, where we can accept the but why, we can accept the contradiction, and have that faith in God. And I just want to end that Yishmael, we know, as Rabbi Yaakov said, that the Malach came to Hagar and said to her, you're going to have a son, v'karat shemo Yishmael, and you're going to call his name Yishmael, ki shama Hashem el onyech, because Hashem heard your pain, saw, and that's why you're going to call him Yishmael. If you read on, Torah doesn't tell us that Hagar and Avram had a discussion. Let's see, what should we name our baby? Okay, there was never any discussion about that. We don't see any malach coming to Abraham saying, you're going to have a son and you should name him Yishmael. Next one we see is Vayi. Vateled Hagar la'Avram ben, Vayikra shemo Espino, asher yolda Hagar Yishmael. So what was Avram's reason for naming him Ishmael? And the Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer, a midrashic source, explains to us, and I heard this from my Machatenis, Debbie Greenblatt, who's a wonderful speaker. He says that in the future, Hashem will hear the cries of his nation from what Ishmael will do to his nation in his land during the days prior to Mashiach. And therefore Abraham named his son Yishmael, that Hashem Yishma in the future will answer our tefillos. So we are davening, we are saying Tehillim more than ever before, globally, not just here. May Hashem Yishmael and hear our tefillos and answer us. Amen.
Our main speaker for this evening. Lots of pressure. The first thing I really meant to say earlier, but I'm going to say this now. Tonight, when we were putting this all together, we realized we need which cries did we miss? And this week we lost, unfortunately, a very beautiful child, Ya'la, Bas Yitzchak. And tonight is Leila Nishmas to her. Now I want to introduce you to Michali Caplan. There's a lot I can say about Michali, but I'm not going to say too much, because she feels too much pressure as it is. But we're going to say thank you, Michali, for being here and for giving us some beautiful words because of it.
Wow. Okay. I think my husband can attest to the fact that I don't need this. I can probably just speak loud enough, so I hope that's okay. Can everyone hear me? Yeah? Okay. Firstly, a huge thank you to Yaakov and Shadi Lazar for putting this together. You guys are truly unbelievable role models for this community. You don't stop looking for opportunities to give and to chesed, and it's truly remarkable. So really, your work is unbelievable and very needed, and thank you very much for everything that you do. So when we were discussing putting this evening together, I was a little bit nervous and I was a little bit hesitant. I, Baruch Hashem, have the zechus of teaching in an unbelievable school named Open Orly. Some of my students are here tonight. And I'm not afraid of speaking in public. But what I am afraid of, and what I was intimidated by, was trying to mechazek a group of mothers during this time. Because I feel like that's a tremendous responsibility. And I think that there's so much that we're all going through. And then I realized I'm a mother too. And I feel your pain. And I think that I can speak for all of us with some of the things that I'm going to share tonight. So I give myself a bracha that Hashem should put the right words in my mouth, and I managed to somehow help somewhat during this time. So I want to begin by reading something that I wrote a few days ago, because I think that it kind of sums up what's going on in so many different ways. So I walked into my house and I saw my husband. I might cry. Please just bear with me because it's you know, it's not easy. But so I walked into my house and I saw my husband was on the porch and he was taking down my sukkah. And this was last week. It's 3 weeks after Sukkot, and he was taking it down, and I started crying and crying and crying, and it felt like I've been hit with this wave of sadness and despair that I've never felt before. It was like this feeling of helplessness and utter sadness that this is how Sukkot was ending, and this is how it was going to be remembered this year. And I so badly didn't want to take it down. We haven't taken down the decorations, and we're keeping that up until Michali comes. But you know, the rest of the Sukkot was taken down. So I wrote this, and then I'm going to speak about it a little bit afterwards. Okay. Okay. I don't want Sukkot to end. So I went to my room. I was a basket case. My husband didn't know what had just happened because he was just taking down the sukkah. And I think that I can speak for all of the women here when I say we're reacting and coping a little bit differently than our husbands. A little bit. It's been I think it's been an extremely difficult time, especially for mothers, because I think that I speak for all of us when I say that we are all really, really feeling the pain of the mothers during this time in such a tangible way. And we also relate it to our own lives, right? When we're with our own children, we can't stop thinking about the children that were hurt or that were kidnapped or that, you know, and it's very, very hard not to make it, you know, it feels like it's happening to us, and Baruch Hashem it's not. But it's the feeling of pain and anguish is actually you could feel it, it's tangible, you could feel it. It's like a pain like we've never witnessed before, we've never felt before. Okay, so, all right, so I said I don't want Sukkot to end. We just took down our sukkah. It's 3 weeks since Simchas Torah and we finally took it down. My heart is breaking yet again, tears rolling down my cheeks. I don't want Simchas Torah to end, not the way it did, because the most precious, holiest day of the year, Shabbos and Simchas Torah, the day that we renew our marriage to Hashem, has become a day of mourning, of horror, and of utter devastation. The happiest day of the year has turned into the saddest. I'm totally overtaken with grief for the precious families that lost their lives and for their families who they have left behind. For the suffering of the hostages taken and for their families who are suffering more than we could possibly imagine. For the fear of the safety of our soldiers who are so selflessly risking their lives with pride for the sake of the Jewish people, and for the fear of the families who hug and kiss their loved ones as they send them off to protect our precious nation. And yet, a glimmer of hope. I think of those precious people we lost, and how because they died in the name of Hashem, they are sitting in the holiest of holies next to Hashem himself, greeted and treated like the heroes that they are. I think of the neshamas smiling down as they look on with unbelievable pride at the tremendous unity that our nation has formed over the last month. The way we have loved each other like we've never loved each other before. The way everyone has come together and really shown how unbelievably beautiful the Jewish nation really is. The chesed, the organizations, incentives, and programs, all coming into fruition to help our brothers and sisters. The way Jews from all over the world are doing mitzvos that they've never done before. We're turning to Hashem in spite of the fact that we are going through one of the most terrible times in Jewish history. We're still turning to Hashem. How we put aside everything when it comes to the safety of our fellow brothers and sisters. And I realize I'm ready. I'm ready to take down the sukkah because I know without a doubt that next Simchas Torah will once again return to the happiest day of the year. Once again, we will renew our marriage to Hashem with our arms wrapped around each other, more united than ever before. Let's keep doing what we're doing through loving each other the way that we are. Not only are we truly understanding what it means to love and accept one another despite our differences, we are also bringing Mashiach. So, thank you. So, it's a crazy thing. It's a crazy thing to have two such opposite feelings all at once. I don't think any of us have ever gone through this kind of roller coaster of emotions. You wake up and the first thing that you notice is this pit in your stomach. You like this endless pit in your stomach, right? And you get up and you get your kids out and you get them ready for school and you know that you send them off and then you're alone again and you are back to where you were. This feeling of like utter despair. And it's a pain that we don't know what to do with. And we don't understand it because the truth is that no human should be able to ever conceive the evil that Hamas is. No, none of us could wrap our heads around it, especially not a Jewish person. We are the most empathetic, kindest nation in the world, on the planet, and we are fighting against the most evil. So how do we comprehend it? We can't possibly comprehend it, right? So for the first few days, I was a mess, like I'm sure all of us have been, nonstop. And I was really, really trying not to cry in front of my kids. First of all, I didn't want to freak them out. And I don't know, I felt like, I don't know, I don't. And then my daughter walked in one day, and I had lost it, and I was crying in my bed, and it was a cry like I've never cried before. I finally felt like this is what it means to really, really cry for Klal Yisrael. And my daughter walked in and she said, "Mommy, what's wrong?" And I'm like, "No, it's okay, it's you know." And then I was like, 1 minute. She's watching me love and care for people I don't even know just because they're Jewish. She's seeing that all I want, all people that I've never met before. And what's connecting us? The pure and simple fact that we all have an neshama. That we all are Jewish and that and that's it. We're brothers and sisters just because of that. And so I cried. I let her see me cry. And it was, I think it was very, it's a beautiful thing for our children to be able to see how much we care. To see how empathetic we are as a nation. That is the thing that we should be most proud of. The way that we care about one another is tremendous. So I was a mess for the first, 3 days, constantly. I'm still a mess, just trying to have like a few hours here and a few hours there. So I decided to start this WhatsApp group that I thought like a few of my friends were going to join, just because like the only thing that was helping me was like I was going online and I was watching things nonstop, and I was like, and it was horrific. I couldn't. Every time I looked at something, I couldn't get it out of my mind, right? But I needed to see what was going on, because all of us, I think, feel like there's so much suffering. We need to be a part of it. How is it that like our brothers and sisters are going through this and we're not involved, right? And then I realized that being involved can also mean seeing the beauty, right? There's two opposite sides here, and I think that it's a tremendous bracha to Hashem, from Hashem, that He's given us one of the hardest times in history, but He's also given us the most beautiful time. And through focusing on the beauty and the achdus that Klal Yisrael has given over this time, I think that that's the only way to get through this, right? So I started this WhatsApp group, and Baruch Hashem, it ended up getting quite large, and it's helped a lot of people. People have made subgroups, and I've been sharing just the most phenomenal, most meaningful videos and pictures of things that are going on around the world, in every country in the world. And it's an amazing thing. Jews are at risk everywhere now, right? The Prime Minister just came out and said, like, no one leave Israel. It's like so ironic, we're at war. And he's like, no one leave the country at war, it's dangerous out there, right? And it's an amazing thing. Like, we actually feel safer being here than we do anywhere else. It's like, I don't ever want to leave here. I don't want to, like, we were meant to go to America for the summer. If that will happen, if it won't, I have no idea. But like, the idea of like getting on a plane and leaving Eretz Yisrael, I can't even wrap my head around it. And I was actually speaking at a seminary last week, and they're all American girls that are here for the year, and they're like in dorm rooms. And I said to them, I said, how many of you would leave here if you could? Because you can. I'm saying, like, how many of you want to go back to your families and and like not be, you know, hearing sirens and missiles and hearing all these horrible things, and not one of them raised their hands. Okay, not one, and it was like over 100 girls. I heard this newscaster saying that the boat that America sent from America to Israel to pick up their passengers, to pick up their Jewish passengers, so there was 2,500 seats available on the boat, okay? 23 people ended up booking, and like hundreds just didn't show up. Like they were like, never mind, we're here to stay, like we're not leaving, you know? And like, these are people who don't live here. And like, they're just wanting to stay and wanting to help. And there's this feeling of like togetherness, like we've never, ever felt before. And I know everyone is speaking about Mashiach, and Mashiach is coming, and Mashiach is coming, and Mashiach is coming. Mashiach is here. This is Mashiach. The feeling that we are having right now, the achdos, and the love that we are having for one another, despite the fact that we look completely different, that we hold by different beliefs, and we have, you know, there's a million different sets of Yiddishkeit, and yet everyone is standing together with their arms around each other, and dancing and singing and hugging each other. The level of chesed that is being done, I mean, I'm getting messages from people all day saying, do you know of an organization that specifically works with families that X, Y, and Z haven't, who I want to give to them? Do you know of a family that needs cleaning help? Do you know of a family that, like, people are searching to give, searching. And it's the most unbelievably beautiful thing to see. And maybe we won't be zocheh to see the rest of Mashiach. Maybe we will, please God, we will. I happen to believe that Mashiach is coming like within the next 6 months. That's just my own opinion. But like, if we do, if we don't, the point is that this is enough. Like Dayenu Hashem, to see Klal Yisrael coming together the way that we are, no one else before us has ever experienced. And it's the most remarkable thing to see. It's just like, what a nation, what a people. Like, what a people. And really, it's the strength, it's the spirit, and it's our belief in Hashem that's going to get us through this. On our own, we can't get through this. But as a nation, together, we can. And we will, and we are. And we're going to come out stronger and more unified than ever before. And it's an unbelievable thing. The week before Ori, right, was rescued, that the girl, the female soldier that was rescued, which was a tremendous miracle in itself. The week before she was rescued, her mother was doing a lahafesh challah, right? I'm sure a lot of you have seen that video. And she's davening. Her daughter is in Gaza. She has no idea. No one knows what is going on there, right? We know how evil Hamas is. We've seen it firsthand. So to know that your child is stuck there and not know what is going on to them, how they sleep at night, I have no idea. I mean, they don't. It's unfathomable, right? And the strength that these people have. She's doing the lahafesh challah, and out of nowhere, spontaneously, like in the middle of her davening, she looks up and she says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I love you. To be able to say that in a time of such despair, of such desperation, to be able to say, Hashem, I love you, not I believe in you. Not I believe that, you know, I love you. To be able to have a feeling like that during a time like this that's a tzaddik. That is someone whose level we should aspire to be on. And I mean, these people, my aunt is here, and my cousin. My cousin is on the border of Gaza. He's in an elite unit, and he's been fighting. And my cousin's husband is in Hebron. And to these people who send out their children and their husbands to protect us, and with so much love. I mean, you see the videos of like these chayalim, and like, they've never been happier. It's an unbelievable thing. I was listening to another like news reporter, totally irreligious, not even Jewish. She was like speaking about, you know, she was covering like what was going on in Israel, and she was like on the Gaza front, and she's like, well, you know, the soldiers are in a much better mood than they've been all week, because they're going in and I'm like, what? Like, it's such a bizarre thing, but it's the truth. I saw another video, there's this girl, she's sitting next to her father, and she's sitting like, you could literally see like rockets like flying over their head. And she's like, you want like, what's the weather like here in Gaza? You know, like, as if she's like a news forecaster, she's like, it's one of like achdus, one of love, one of like, you know, she's like, I've never felt like this before. You never feel like that feeling of like just pure and utter joy and support, and like, it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. So this mother being able to say like, Hashem, I love you during this time is so tremendous. And like a woman in the Knesset stood up and started giving off this thing, and she's like giving like this like speech full of chizuk and like talking about like what a role model this mother is, and like it's true. These people that are giving so selflessly, it's just remarkable. So it says when we say Shema, I know my students have probably heard this 1,000 times, but it's one of my favorite ideas. When you say Shema, right? So you cover your eyes and you say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. So the question is, why do you cover your eyes when you say Shema? What's the purpose, right? To have emunah when you can see, when it's light, when you're not afraid, when you feel sure, when you see where you're going, isn't very difficult. We can all have emunah when everything's going our way, right? But when our eyes are closed, when they're covered, when it's dark, when we can't see, when we're afraid, and we say the words Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, that's when we become real ma'aminim. That's when we become real believers. And that's when we really prove that we are able to have the emunah that we need to have. And we're seeing it. And it's the most unbelievable thing to witness. So I think that there are two things that are coming from all of this. The first is, I don't think anyone disagrees with me when I say we are bringing Mashiach. Every generation has a potential to bring Mashiach, right? Every generation. And we're doing it. Like, we are doing it. We have like been more united than ever before. And I think that the love is real. Like, it's so real. It's not like we're just doing this, you know, we're not trying to unite because, oh, we're all Jewish and we're fighting against the enemy. Like, there is so much love amongst all of us. And like, I know for sure that everyone feels this way when you think about like the hostages. You don't think about like, you know, what did she wear, or what did she look like, or who was she related to, or what job did she have, or you think that they're a neshama, they're a Jew. That's all that matters. And that's really all that should matter. And you know, everyone looks the same now. Everyone's wearing uniform, right? All the men are wearing uniform. So what happens? We shed the outside garbage, the outside like judgments of how you look and who you are, what you do. And we're getting to like the essence of who we are as a nation. And I think like Rebbetzin Teitelbaum was saying, like, we are the children of Avraham Avinu. Kindness is who we are. Empathy is who we are. And the fact that we're tapping into it now more than ever is beautiful. So that's the first thing that we're seeing through, you know, during this time. And the second is that I think that a lot of us do things because it's how we grew up. And it's what we were taught. And how many people could say, you know, I keep Shabbos because I love Shabbos. And I put on tefillin because I appreciate what it means, right? And I daven because I understand that connecting to Hashem not only is what Hashem, and when you believe in Hashem, you never feel alone. That's massive, to never feel alone, to go through hard times and to never feel alone is something that every person on the planet needs. And we're able to do that. And we're able to like bring that into our own lives in such an easy way just by connecting to Hashem. I just want to say though that there is a difference between believing in Hashem and loving Hashem, right? That's what I was thinking about. Like, so I think that a lot of us believe in Hashem. And I was speaking to my cousin about the concept of like, what does it mean to believe in Hashem and to love Hashem? How could you love Hashem during this time, right? Like, to say I love you when you see the pain that is going on is a real madrega, right? So I think that the way to kind of channel the love for Hashem is by noticing the little things, not the little things, they're big, but I'm saying like the tremendous miracles that are going on, right? Aside from the achdus and all of that, and all of like, you know, that in itself is a tremendous gift. But I mean, you see these videos of like bombs landing in homes and like the family having left like 3 seconds before. Or a bomb landing in a house. I just saw this crazy video of a bomb landing in a house and everything, and everything was like shattered. And then you see the video and the Shabbos table is, first of all, beautifully done. Whoever did it, kudos to you. But it didn't, a glass didn't fall. Like it was untouched. It was so amazing. So the second thing that we're seeing through this incredibly difficult time is a real love for Hashem, a real love for Hashem, and a tremendous amount of love for the Torah and mitzvot. The Chayalim, all they're asking for is tzitzis. I saw this beautiful video, so it made me so happy. I have it on my phone. It's this. You see this guy. He has a massive afro. He has earrings all over. And he's like, I just want to say something. He's like, we have everything we need. We have food, too much food. Stop saying food. Like, we have food. We have, you know, security. We have everything we could possibly need. We do. We have like the most well looked after army on the planet. But he's like, and we have people that are putting on tzitzis, and we have people that are putting on tefillin, and we have people taking things on. Now we need chizuk. We need you guys to be strong. We need you to keep us going. Because a lot of people feel like they need to watch, or in order to be involved in this, they need to somehow live through what they're going through or what they have gone through. Except that right now we're in survival mode. And for us to keep on going back to that is, we're not going to be able to get through if we keep on having to relive these images and these videos. The way that we get through is by spreading the beauty, is by recognizing the miracles that Hashem does, is by creating an atmosphere of achdus and love, and keep on doing what we're doing, right? And by the way, when I say that, it's not just, you know, there's lots of people that are going out and doing things and volunteering and helping and this and that, but we all have our own tafkid, and we all have things that we're able to do. So for someone, just being able to get up in the morning and cope and look after your kids, maybe your tafkid, and that's enough. We're all dealing with this in a different way. We all have ups and downs. We all have times where we feel devastated and times where we feel uplifted. And none of us are able to judge what another person is going through or what another person is doing. And I think that's really, really, really important to say. Like, we're talking about like having like avas chinam, right? Have avas chinam not only amongst the bigger, you know, Jewish nation, but in your own families, right? Chesed starts at home. It's beautiful to be trying to do chesed for everybody else, and for Klal Yisrael, and for, you know, but to do chesed with your spouse, to do chesed with your children, to be extra patient, to do, you know, chesed with people you wouldn't necessarily be friends with. That's really where it begins. So I just wanted to say that it's always darkest before the break of dawn, right? It's always pitch black. And we're seeing little glimmers of sunlight in the tremendous achdus and chesed that we are seeing throughout the entire Jewish nation. We really are about to see the brightest we have ever seen. So I give everyone a bracha that we should continue doing what we are doing. Continue doing it. We're bringing the geula. And forget about Mashiach, because please God, I mean, that's like obviously the ultimate, but us being strong, and us giving chizuk, and us sharing these things, and feeling so proud of being Jewish, and davening, and turning to Hashem, and taking on mitzvahs, all of that is the only thing that the Chayalim need from us right now. The only thing that the hostages need from us right now is to try our best to be strong, to spread the beauty, and please God, Mashiach should come within the next 6 months.